let's talk about lists. So a list in Python is just a collection of values. The values can be, they're ordered. You can change them, but they can be repeated. The values can be integers, they can be strings, they can be anything. It's just a collection of values. So some examples of lists, you could do maybe scores and give the scores of an exam. So 93, 81, 62, 81, 95, 100, 38. Okay, so we put these brackets at the end, and we just put the values inside of there. You could give a list of strings, like vegetables, you could call it. And so inside here, the items would be broccoli. That's not spelled right. And beans and spinach. And notice I put quotation marks around each of those to make it a string of items. Okay, so when we talk about a list, we want to be able to access the items in the list. If you want to get the value at a particular place in the list, you can use an index. So what you want to remember is that in Python, we start counting with 0. So if I go back to my list scores, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items in it. The 93 is in spot 0. The 81 is in spot 1. 62, 81, 5. So it has 7 items, but the indices go from 0 to 6. And so if I wanted to reference this 95 here, then I would say scores, the name of the list. I would put the bracket and I would put a 4 because scores is in position 4 in my list. So this value would be 95. So the first element in your list, we would put the name of your list and then put the bracket and put 0, and that would be 93. Another thing we can do is use a negative index to count from the end of your list. This is especially useful if you have a really long list and you don't know how long it is. So if I said scores -1, that's going to give me that value all the way at the end of my list here, 38. In Python, there are some predefined functions that do things for you, and one of these functions is called, a built-in function. One is called the length, and it gives you the length of any list. So inside the parentheses, you just put the name of the list you want the length of. So if I put scores inside that parentheses, remember, let's look back, scores had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. Even though the last item had index 6, because of that 0 at the beginning, it had 7 items. So the length of scores was 7.